All right, as we move on from the folks at Cornell, we're going to pick up with the folks from Dartmouth, and we're going to be joined here by head coach Buddy Stevens, along with senior defensive lineman Shane Coates and senior quarterback Nick Howard. So let's get everybody set up here. I think we have Coach Stevens joining us. We got Nick Howard joining us. And let's get everybody situated here and we can start our conversation. You're seeing Nick getting situated. We're seeing Shane here now. And in a moment, hopefully we'll have Coach Stevens and we will be ready to roll.
Jack, sorry about that.
There we go.
Technologically challenged.
You don't have to say that to me. I've done television for 35 years. I still have no idea how it works. You know, I wait for a red light to go on, and I know that's the sign for me to start talking. If I have to do anything more than that, it is indeed a problem. Coach, welcome. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Jack. Hopefully you had a great summer. We're looking forward to the fall.
Indeed we are. And Nick Howard, Shane Coates, welcome to both of you, gentlemen. We'll be with you in a second and share some thoughts with you. But Coach, let me start with you here as we're heading into this 2022 season. Give us some thoughts that you have about what's coming up here.
Well, excited about our team. Obviously, the COVID period and kind of the evolution of your practice schedules and the training and the guys on campus, off campus, virtual. It's nice to kind of settle back into somewhat of a normal routine. We do have a sophomore summer, so we had a good number of our sophomores on campus. Attitude was tremendous. A lot of our older guys opted to come back a little bit early and train, but the correspondence across the country is you guys are excited. Obviously, we had some success last year. We've graduated a good number of players, and we do that every year. People say, well, you lost a lot. Well, there's guys, people didn't know their name last year. They learned it. And we have guys in our program that people haven't seen a bunch. They'll learn about them as we go forward. But we believe we have some talent. I think we have great leadership and excited to get the thing rolling.
Let's talk a little bit about that idea of moving into this new season here. As you mentioned, an outstanding season last year, right? 9-1, share of the Ivy titles, had such a great run the last decade or so of success up at Dartmouth. So as a head coach, coming off of an exceptional season, a 9-1 season, how do you guard against the notion of either maybe a sense of entitlement where players are saying, hey, we do this all the time now at Dartmouth, or a sense that, yeah, we were really good last year, so we're probably going to be really good this year. Maybe you don't have to work that hard at. I would think that would be kind of a delightful dilemma for a head coach to have, to deal with success on a regular basis, but how do you deal with it?
Well, people say it historically, it's hard to get there. It's harder to stay there. And the mindset of our players has got to be what happened last year. That's ancient history. And a lot of guys that were part of it are no longer there. This is a new chapter, a new team, a new attitude, new leadership. And we have to work hard. You know, when you have success, people they kind of check that schedule. And that's the team, you know, we've got to beat this year. And so you have to be aware of that. And the biggest thing is we have things to prove to ourselves. How good can we be individually as a unit, offense and defense, special teams, as a team? And one of the things we've been blessed with, I think we play very well as we play team football. Offense, defense, special teams, they complement each other. Tremendous unselfishness. We play a lot of players. So though we graduate a good number, we have a lot of guys that have played a fair amount of football for us. So it's you don't look back. Nobody does. It's what's coming forward, and we've got a lot to prepare for.
I think one of the reasons that good head coaches are good head coaches is that they can look at a 9-1 season and still see what needs to get better, specifically what needs to be improved on. So if you look back at last year and then project to this year, and you get started, you know, you've been able to work during the summer, but you get started for real this week. What are the types of things that you'll say to your team need to get better at to improve this season?
Well, as always, all facets of the game, but from an offensive standpoint, our offensive line, we need to gel. We'll have some new faces up front. It being a physical team, that's been somewhat of a hallmark of our program through the years. Young guys, they got to step up and play physical football. We have some experience at the wide receiver position, the quarterback spot, and the running back spots. Offensive line, I mean, you guys are the key. We got to make this thing go. The back end and the perimeter guys, they've got to perform at a higher level than they did a year ago. A year older, a year wiser, a year more experienced. We have good competition at most positions offensively. So it's kind of this steel sharpened steel type of mindset. Tight end position, graduated a couple of good guys. And so that's a little bit up in the air. Joe Kramer will come back, and he's a seasoned player, but some of our younger talent needs to step up and perform. On the defensive side, we've got some great leadership there and some very talented guys. Shane is on today and tremendous potential, surrounded by some guys that can play as well, putting pressure on a quarterback. And that's going to be absolutely critical for us. Who's that dominant rush guy? The linebacking core, a little bit untested. Joe Heffernan will be back. He cleaned up last year for us, did a nice job. But some of the new guys, Macklin Ayers, Danny Cronin, stepping up and performing well. The back end folks, Quentin Arello is not here, one of our captains, very, very solid football player, played a lot of football for us. We get some depth and experience in the back end, and those guys all have to gel together. But it is every year, as you know, the personality of the defense, the personality of the offense, the personality of the team. But I like the team. I like the personality. I like the work ethic. And we'll be excited to get these guys together and start on a new campaign.
Nick, let me bring you into the conversation if I can. You were part of an extraordinary quarterback rotation last year. I say extraordinary because oftentimes you'll hear sort of the conventional, if there is such a thing, wisdom in football, where you hear people say, well, if you're playing two quarterbacks, it's because you don't really have one real quarterback leader. Dartmouth last year had playing two quarterbacks and ended up being the first and second team all Ivy quarterbacks. I don't know that I've ever seen that happen before, Coach. I don't know if you have or not, but I've been around the game for a lot of years. I don't think I've ever seen that before, where you have such talented players who are able, and the coach is able to figure out how to make it work, and yet they're both recognized, again, as the first and second team all Ivy quarterbacks. So this year, now, coming into it, you're talking about, okay, now it's Derek Kyler has graduated. It's kind of being handed off to you. What changes in your mentality and your thought process as you prepare for a game and as you're invested in the game with this different scenario, or probably different scenario this year?
Well, I think the first thing that changes comes in overall preparation, and that started at the end of last season. There's a lot more things that I'm going to be asked to do this season, which I'm incredibly excited about. I feel very confident in my ability to do those things. But just looking at the role that I'm looking to take on in the team, it definitely has some facets that were absent from the game, my game last year, because Derek Kyler did those things so extremely well. So there definitely are some things that come in the form of specifically what I'm watching on film, some of the different drills that I've began to really incorporate in a lot of my workouts. But just minor details and taking a lot of information that Derek and Jared Gerbino before him passed down to me, and just trying to put forth the best performance I'm able to every week.
I saw and heard people when they were referencing to the situation last year, and I think this is entirely inaccurate, but I saw and heard that they would refer to Derek as the thrower and you as the runner. And I say it was inaccurate because, again, I covered a couple of your games, and that was just not so. Your ability to throw the ball was I think, much better than a lot of people assumed for some reason. Did that bother you at all, the notion of you're the runner coming in? How do you deal with that mentally as an athlete?
Last year, I really chose to embrace it. Obviously, the majority of my snaps were running the ball. Again, I'm very confident in my ability to throw the ball, and Derek was an extremely capable player as well. So I think we complemented each other really well. I think the thing that I really enjoy embracing is that half of our team and people back home and all over still call me a linebacker. So I take that to heart in a good way, and I embrace that mentality. I try and carry that in the weight room, in meetings, hanging out. That's who I am. That's who I want to be. And I think that's a lot of the other guys and the coaching staff too find it entertaining and get a lot of energy out of it.
It's funny. I remember saying that on the air, talking about the notion of you play with the mentality of a linebacker. I think I even said at one point in time, if I'm back in my playing days and I'm sort of back in a safety position and I see a 220-pound, really good running quarterback who thinks he's a linebacker still coming at me, and I'm the last guy there between him and the end zone, I'm not that thrilled about that. I think I even talked to Coach Stevens about the fact that you were a shot putter, right? In your high school career. I'm correct about that, right?
You are correct. Yeah, I was definitely the skinniest one, but I went out there and competed.
Yeah, not so sure. I said to Coach, how many times you've had an all-Ivy quarterback who was also a shot putter in high school, and he had he agreed with me on that. Hey Shane, let me talk to you a little bit about what's going on here. One of the hallmarks of Dartmouth football has been extraordinary defense. When I say extraordinary, I mean nationally ranked defense for a lot of years recently. And it's hard, to have that kind of identity year in and year out when you're having, as Coach mentioned, look, it's a great school, Dartmouth, and people are coming there and then they're graduating, and some of them are going to get a shot in the league. Others are going up to great professions and business opportunities. But you have people coming in and out. And yet the defense has maintained that consistently extraordinarily high level. How do you think that happens?
I mean, I would say it's just tradition built on from every year. I mean, starting off when I got there with Jackson Perry, Jack Trainer, Nigel, Isaiah Swan, just continuing every year to build on that and to keep that same tradition mentality going, of being a physical defense, as Coach said, and being sound technically in all positions everywhere. No matter if it's a young guy coming in next year, someone with 3 years, everyone's ready to play and everyone's built for it through the tradition and learning from each other.
When you look at last year's accomplishments and you're now projecting into this year, and now you're certainly in a leadership role, and you have both younger players coming in, newer players, maybe players who didn't play as many snaps in the past coming in. What do you see needs to be done, and what might you say to these other players as a leader here that needs to be done in order for Dartmouth to stay in that lofty position as a nationally ranked defensive unit?
I would say, I mean, just like every year, don't let it go to your head. I mean, keep the same thing going. I mean, listen to older guys, focus on the small things, little things, continue to be technically sound, continue to study film, just continue to do all the things that put us in the position we are now to keep us in that national rank position.
Let me bring in Benjamin Rosenberg from Valley News, who has a question for you folks. Benjamin, you with us?
I am, yeah, thanks. I'll start with you, Coach. Yeah, you mentioned the offensive line there as a position group that needs to step up and improve. You only have one starter returning there. What have you seen from them over the summer, the guys who have been here, and who's really made a strong showing?
Well, Ben, thanks for joining in. Zach Lehman has really done a nice job for us. Will be a fifth-year guy for us, and was very, very productive last year. And with kind of a lack of senior leadership up front, he's really kind of filled the void. And he was taking classes this summer, done a real nice job. Michael Flores, who's been a little bit nicked during the course of his career, really had a very good spring for us. Adam Will, again, untested guy, but he had a good spring for us. Nick Schwitzgable, who's played a fair amount of football for us. We think he can be a very, very solid, very dominant lineman in this league. Thomas Hartnett, another guy, very gifted athletically. And Konstantin Spork, a young man from Germany. And those guys all kind of mesh together. Keith Clark does as fine a job as anyone I've ever had on staff. And schematically, Kevin Daft does a great job kind of mixing and matching. But it's untested because a lot of those guys just haven't seen a whole lot of time. But I think we have potential. And to Shane's point, there is a little bit of a tradition, and the guys, they want to continue and carry that forward. So it's questions to be answered, but I think we have guys that can answer those questions.
Yeah, and then defensively, same idea, just one returning starter at each of the three levels. Are there some position battles forming there, or again, who have you really?
Well, the defensive line, obviously, Shane Cokes has been a very, very consistent for us. Luca DeLeo, Bobby Jefferson played well for us. Alex Schmidt is another guy. All guys have played. Jalen Rainey, Hank Canez, Charlie Luce. So guys that you won't hear a lot of, but they've been very, very consistent for us. And I think one of the blessings we have, Dwayne Brooks does a great job inside, is meshing and maxing talents. So we put our best collective group together in a pass rush situation, a rundown situation, and then we keep our guys fresh. And I said it earlier, unselfishness. That's really something that's special, I think, about this team. People all are assigned roles and they accept the role. They may want to change the role and performance will dictate that, but they're content, as Nick had mentioned, the quarterback position. Rather than come in and say, well, I think I should be playing more. It's, hey, man, we're doing a great job with what? And that's reciprocated across the board. But the defensive front, I feel we've got some depth, some talent, a couple of young guys. Josiah Green has the ability to come in and help us a little bit. And some guys can run. Darryl Porter. So there's always people that are kind of pushing a little bit. And under the guidance of people like Shane, they'll mature and nurture those guys. So we've got decent depth at the position.
Yeah, sounds great. And then could I get a couple questions in for Nick and Shane?
Absolutely.
All right, Nick, I know you were at the Manning Passing Academy this year. Obviously, Coach Stevens is high up in that. What was your experience like there? What did you take away from it?
I had an incredible experience at MPA, thanks to the Manning family, as well as Coach T and Mrs. Stevens. They absolutely run an amazing camp. It was just all around a really special experience, getting to interact with a bunch of young athletes who wanted to improve themselves from the middle school and high school level, as well as interacting with the other college quarterbacks that were there. It's such a crazy thing to go from watching Bryce Young and Stetson Bennett on TV on Saturday nights before our season starts or later in the postseason to all of a sudden you're hanging out with them and coaching football with them. So it's just such a cool and unique experience. And I took away some memories that I'm going to hold on for a lifetime.
Yeah, thanks so much. And then Shane, like I was asking Coach, you're one of just three returning starters on the defense, the only one on the D line. So what responsibilities do you feel to get some of the younger guys up to speed on that in that position group?
I think it just goes back to making sure they're all informed on what to do, continue to understand what's gotten us there and what's made us that nationally ranked defense, and making sure that they understand that and they continue to push that forward. Just teaching them things, whether it be from Coach Brooks, Coach Dobes, continue to make sure everyone follows in line and just listen and keep us in the same direction that we've been going in.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
And thank you. Coach, last question to you as we wrap up here. We hear oftentimes coaches talk about player-led teams. And now you've had a wonderful and a long tenure at Dartmouth, where you started as a player, coached there for a while, left, came back, have had great success here. How important is that to you as a coach? That certainly, as you said, your coaches are essential. I know personally Keith Clark and Dwayne Brooks, and I know how good they are, and you mentioned that. And your other coaches are outstanding, certainly. But how important is it to you as a head coach that you have player-led teams?
Well, I think it's critical. You can do so much as a coach. You kind of get guys lined up, but when it's important to them, they're passionate about this personal success and collective success that they have. Our guys take an awful lot of pride in representing themselves, their families, certainly Dartmouth College and our football program. And I think that pride it spills into tremendous dedication. And nobody's taken the easy road. And the nice thing, player-led, is players won't let players slide. They hold each other accountable. They will be direct. They will be candid. They will be honest with guys, as opposed to, he's a friend of mine, I'm not going to say anything. If someone's not, pulling their weight, they're going to be called out by their teammates. And I think the most successful programs that exists. where the culture is such that we have an expectation, and every one of us is going to make sure each one of us adheres to the standards that have been set. So it's, I mean, it's a source of pride. Certainly, it's always, okay, we still got it going. And you just, the players prove that, and you see that through the off-season performance, the summer work that they do, and really the excitement when they return on Thursday, just to see the enthusiasm they have to, hey, let's get this thing going again.
Well, it'll be fun to see Dartmouth get things going again this season. Some scheduling notes real quick. So Big Green welcomes Valparaiso to Hanover on September 17th. Kickoff at 1:30 p.m. And then ESPN is going to be up there on Friday, September 30th, as Penn comes to visit. So Nick and Shane, thanks so much for both of you. Good luck this season. Look forward to watching you, Coach. It's always a pleasure talking with you. We look forward to seeing you also. You all be well now.
Jack, enjoy the rest of your summer, Jack. Take care. Thanks.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, fellas.